The being you called Christ's message was, you are all Christ's. Mm-hmm. The idea of follow me is be like me, mm-hmm. because you contain everything I'm showing you.
When your Jesus said, I am the way, he did not mean follow him in a religious context. He meant be the way I am, because you are that way. So the idea also is for all of you to understand that this is what the so-called second coming actually is the awakening within each and every one of you of your own Christ consciousness, your own Buddha nature, your own Krishna spirit, your own holy Vavoka. All of that is all who you are, and you've created reflections down through the ages to guide you, to remind you. But because of the disconnection in your consciousness, it didn't always take. But a few people here and there would get it. Until such time as now you have arrived at a place where you finally are beginning to understand
that he was misunderstood in his day.
Very much so. Still misunderstood to this day.
And the Bible, I'm thinking, isn't an accurate translation of what he was trying to
Not
teach
always,
us
no.
to tell us.
No. Much of what, in that sense, that individual was teaching is very similar to what you are now understanding in what you call your metaphysical age. The idea is that simply people back then couldn't understand it. But to put it in a more fundamental sense, Yeshua, or as you say, Jesus, really did not intend in any way, shape, or form to create followers, intended to create leaders, equals, did not intend to create Christians per se, intended to let you all know you are Christ's. That's the greatest misunderstanding of the information. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So much of what you're understanding today is the idea that that individual was teaching, even down to the concept of how powerfully your beliefs create your reality, yes?
Yeah.
Because did not, in that sense, at least to some degree, the Bible quote him as saying, it is your belief, it is your faith that has made the difference? Yes? And did it not also say that when Yeshua even went back to his hometown, because people there only knew him as a carpenter and did not believe in the things that other people said he could do none of those things in his hometown. And the Bible says so very clearly. You understand?
Yes.
It's all about the idea of your belief system. It's all about the idea of what you know to be true. It's all about your actions, all about your alignment. This is all that individual was saying, and that's what he meant when he said, I am the way. He meant be this way. I'm the example. I'm the way. Be like me.
Good day. Speak up, speak up.
Hello? Hi. There are countless stories of people, even devout Muslims, having profound experiences of Jesus, leading them to convert. At the same time, there are also demon-related experiences, particularly within the industries like music, where the idea of selling one's souls for fame persists. Based on the concept of a soul's journey by Michael Newton, which suggests, much like you, that we choose our human experiences from the soul plane. How do the figures of Jesus and Satan fit into this framework? If we all originate from the soul plane, what power or force underpins the concepts of Satan? And how do we reconcile the existence and experiences of Jesus if Satan isn't real or vice versa? Where does faith fit into all of this?
Knowing this fits. I understand what you're calling faith, but you don't really need faith if you understand how things work. You just know how they work. The idea of Jesus and Satan fit in as archetypal, symbolic representations energetically of the idea that the universe is a polarity between love and fear. And that's it. It represents love and it represents fear, because fear is the opposite of love, not hate. Fear is the opposite of love, in the sense that you feel disconnected from source. So the idea of Satan is just an embodiment in human consciousness as an archetypal form that represents the absence of the experience of unconditional love, which is the vibration of existence itself. And love is representative of the vibration of existence itself. So Satan is the idea of the rejection of existence, which can't happen because you can't cease to exist from fear. And the idea of Jesus is the symbolic representation, and Krishna and Buddha and all of those ascended masters representative of the idea of being in harmonic association with the vibration of existence itself. Does that explain it to you?
Yes, but like, where does the force, like, I mean, again, if you look at people that believe in like demons or Satan or anything, where does that force or that power come from if we all
It comes through them from source, because source doesn't care which way you go, because source is unconditional. You understand the meaning of that word unconditional?
Yes.
Well, if you understand the meaning of the word unconditional and understand that it's about love and fear, then you understand that polarity is part of existence. And therefore, source doesn't really have an opinion as to which way you go, because it's all capable of giving you lessons. Remember that when you return to your soul, you are in a state of balance, and you know, and you learn lessons from every experience that you've had. Whether you spent time in physical reality believing in demons and Satan and experiencing fear, when you go back into your soul state, your true state, your natural state, you understand why you may have done that, how it may have served others, playing off of you, and all sorts of things. It's like playing a role that allows polarity to be played out so the souls can grow and expand based on those lessons, based on those concepts of the play between love and fear.
Okay, one more, please. What key questions can I ask myself to better understand the root of my reactions towards others, especially in frustrating situations like dealing with inconsiderate drivers? And how can I align more deeply with the trait of patience towards them and others in similar situations?
Do you have frustration with young children who you know don't know any better yet?
Not really.
Then take that attitude toward those drivers. They are like young children who haven't learned that everything is an orchestration and can serve a positive purpose, who are simply out of fear and out of the sense of disconnection and out of a sense that they are not getting what fulfills them, are thrashing and lashing out and reacting in negative ways because they feel disconnected. So have compassion for them to understand that they simply need to learn how to connect more to their flow so they can flow and understand that they are part of a big orchestration that is serving humanity in a variety of ways. And if you take that attitude, you will then look at them in the same way that you would look at a young child who is simply just learning how to thrive in physical reality. You wouldn't think of them as any less, and you wouldn't be frustrated by them, because you know they still have something to learn. They still have a ways to go. So open your heart and treat them with compassion. All right?
Fair enough. Thank you so much for your insights.
And if you do curse at them, forgive yourself. Teacher, any great master on your planet, such as Buddha or Jesus or Krishna, they were not about creating followers. They were reminding you that you are Buddhas, you are Christs. That's what has been misinterpreted. And therefore, by example, by thought, word, and deed, and living the example, do others then get attracted to your passion, your conviction of living that life, and want to know how you do that. Then you can share ideas and information and help them learn to be more of who they are. Not that they have to choose that, because you must allow them to choose whatever it is they ultimately decide to choose. If you want to be allowed to be who you are, you have to allow them to be who they are fully, with absolutely no insistence that they have to match your frequency at all.
Many names for the idea of what you call God: God, Goddess, Allah, Jehovah, Tetragrammaton, the Light, the I am that I am, Wakantanka. It doesn't really matter what it is that you use as a name to identify the concept of all that is. But it is important to understand that all of these names represent different archetypal expressions, different angles and different perspectives of the same one thing, so that all of your apparently separate religions, no matter how they present themselves, no matter how many symbols they use to represent the idea of God or aspects of God, are all talking about the same thing, but from different points of view that serve the uniqueness of the culture in which they live. But the idea is to understand that it all comes from source, it all is within the light. And the light, source, all that is, expresses itself in all these ways in order for there to be sufficient symbols for all the different cultural experiences on your planet, all the different individual experiences, even within a culture on your planet. As we have said, the misinterpretation of what you have called, in one particular Judeo-Christian culture, the 10 Commandments, are really the messages that were delivered in a very different way that have been misunderstood, misquoted, because of the level of understanding that existed in the culture at the time. And the so-called first commandment, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not have false gods before me, really was a mistranslation and a misunderstanding of the idea that really would be more accurately represented as, I am that I am, and all reflections are me, therefore none can be false before me, for I am all that is. So the idea is to understand that all that is presents itself in a variety of archetypal forms, the father energy, the mother energy, God, Goddess, all that is, as you sometimes say. And these serve various functions and translate into your reality as, shall we say, smaller representations of all that is that are specifically designed to deal with specific cultural differences, specific ideology differences, specific individual interpretations and differences. Fundamentally speaking, the archetypes are all that is way of making sure that no matter what angle you approach all that is from, you will have a symbol and a representation that can serve your unique perspective. They are all true parts of all that is, because there's nothing outside of all that is. Anything you can experience as an archetypal representation, or even when you assume it is the entire representation of all that is true and accurate, because all that is everything that can possibly be. There's no outside to it. There is nothing that is not it. So it doesn't really matter how you relate, what relationship you form with the idea of any presentation of all that is, any idea or formation of the idea of God, be it the old man with the long beard, be it the idea of the Virgin Mother, be it the idea of a rock or a mountain. It matters not to all that is, because all that is all those things and more, beyond even your imagining. For all that is in its archetypal presentations also forms the symbols that are relatable to not only your particular human culture, but many cultures throughout the cosmos, throughout infinity. Anything and everything, being a reflection of all that is, has its own way of understanding the presentation of archetypes from source, has its own representations that make sense to their cultures. So there are an infinite variety of presentations of all that is, but it is still the same one thing fundamentally. But as you expand your consciousness and start to realize that all of these are different faces of the same thing, as many people on your planet have expressed, the 9 billion names of God are still representative of the same one thing in the holographic, multidimensional presentation that it can use to present itself. Then you start to allow those differences to sort of melt away, except for the parts you feel you need. and allow yourself to have a direct relationship, more directly, with Source, without necessarily needing it to be anything but the light. And in that light, you feel the vibration of the eternal existence that it is, the vibration you translate as the unconditional love of God. This is the vibrational frequency of existence itself. It is unconditionally supporting, unconditionally loving. And the idea is that there is no judgment in this. There is no expression of the negative in this. So even when individuals in different cultures might express or experience the idea of negative or demonic experiences, you have to understand this is still all part of God, because there is the positive, there is the negative, and there is the neutral. These are the major archetypal energies, and they can be expressed in a variety of ways that can serve either positive or negative means. So allow yourselves to lessen the differences, in a sense, use them in whatever way serves you, use them in whatever way allows you to learn the lessons you need to learn for the agreements that you chose to experience, the challenges that you created for yourself in this life to learn who you are and grow in various situations. Again, using the positive and negative mechanisms in a variety of ways. For ultimately, again, when you return to spirit, when you remember more of who you are, it will just be an experience. You will experience the archetypal expression of your life, which is another archetypal expression, because each and every one of you is unique, and you form your own archetypes for others to connect to draw upon, to download information from and experience from, the archetype that you are of all that is, because everyone is all that is, experiencing itself as all of the individualities that you believe yourself to be. So you are also an archetype of all that is, an archetype of God, experiencing itself in a unique way, knowing itself from a unique perspective. There will be more about this concept in a future transmission, in a way that you can more readily apply in your physical reality experience. But for now, just let it settle into you that every single thing you see, every single thing you experience, in a sense, is an archetypal presentation of all that is: the trees, the rocks, the streams, the animals, the sky, the moon, the stars, the earth itself, are all different variations and different expressions of all that is of Source, of the light. And you, yourself, are also an archetype of God.